Hello and welcome back to TCD Transporters. I'm Darren and today we are in Cornwall, and I just wanted to show and share with you our little tips and tricks for what we do and how we prep before we get ready to go on holiday. And as we're now about to start the season, this is a really good reminder of all those key little bits that you want to be packing and taking with your van, and what to expect and things to do when you're out as well. So join us and we'll go through a few key bits with you. Okay, so one of the essential bits, and you'll see the box behind me, is electric hookup. Now, quite often disregarded, there is a standard that you should be meeting for your hookup cable, and that is a 2.5mm square cable section on each of the cores. So there are some really cheap hookup cables about, dare I say, from the online ordering fraternity. So you can end up with what looks like a bargain, actually isn't. So the decent stuff you want in orange, obviously a lot easier to see, and of course you want the 2.5mm square cable, 3 core obviously. So and then with the good end, so generally the 2.5 tends to be a 25 amp and the ends should be 16 amp. So you want to be looking at the better quality cables. If it's somewhere around the sort of 40 to 50 quid mark for 10-15 meters, that's probably about right. Anything cheaper than that and you're going to end up with thin cheap cable that isn't going to last and potentially could get quite hot. And on the camping and caravan sites, it is a requirement. I've never seen them enforce it, but in fairness, if you did get a problem and they traced it back to your cable, you could be in a bit of bother. The other good thing to note as well, and I'll flip the camera around and show you, is do not coil the cable up. I'd recommend in the UK, we probably only need about 10 meters, and that'll get you from your van to the hookup point. And they're generally not that far away. So you'll see what I mean as we trace the hookup lead coming out of the box, down onto the ground, following around, and then going into the back of my van. Now, it's all too tempting to coil it up because obviously we've got quite a fair bit there. I think we're running with a 15-meter cable on this occasion, but yeah, it is important that you don't coil it up because that can create heat. Yes, so as you can see, my hookup goes into the rear of the van, but I think in the UK 10 meters is generally enough, even if you've got hookup under the bonnet. So if you're on the side of the van, the back of the van like we are, or you've got hookup coming out of the bonnet or out of the grill badge, generally 10 meters is more than enough. The hookup points generally tend to be behind the back of the pitch, so you haven't really got that far to go. Europe is definitely an exception, and pretty much Italy, you'll need the longest lead you could ever get. But in the UK, we generally tend to run about 15 meters of hookup lead, which is more than enough, so we end up having to sort of track it backwards and forwards a little bit. Again, do not coil it up. But yeah, this 10 meters is normally more than enough. You can always buy a 10 meter and a 15 meter, so then if you do go to Europe, you can then extend by joining the two together, putting them in a nice waterproof case. You can get a case that goes around the joint where the two hookups will meet. That's recommended. And then of course you've then got 25 meters. In Italy we've exceeded that and we've had to really come up with some ingenious ways of plugging in, but their electric is quite sketchy. So yeah, nothing like what the UK is. So 10 meters, really good quality cable, that'll see you right. Another good one is wheel chocks, and don't be afraid to get creative. We've had to borrow some bricks from the camping site where we're at because we couldn't quite get the van level enough. So here we go, we've got, it's full of water, we've had quite a bit of rain last day. So yeah, so we've got some Fiamma, just little leveling chocks. You can put them on top of each other, but we did that earlier and we put them on top of each other and they've snapped. So the idea is that you are supposed to be able to sort of lock them in like that, and then you can get a little bit higher off the ground. I did that earlier and yeah, we've broken that one quite well, and it's broken all around that. So when we get home, that'll be going in the bin. But A decent set of chocks is absolutely essential, otherwise you are in for a less comfortable night. I like to be level, so I'd always recommend you bring some of these with you. And we've got some pretty good, decent stout ones also from Fiamma back at home, and they're the heavy duty ones. Clearly these didn't like the van when I tried to get a bit creative and double them up. So never mind, but yeah, hopefully you don't need any more than that, because these are really nice and they do fit in the cupboard really well. And normally those little wedges are more than enough. So one of my other favourite things that I say to everybody when you're out and about is shop local. Not only does it support everybody locally around where you're staying, and obviously creates that balance upon you coming into where they live, it's really nice that we find cool little farm shops like this. So we've got some really nice local produce, vegetables and salads and nice cheeses and pies and pasties and all that sort of really good stuff. So shop locally and enjoy everything that's around you. So basic vehicle checks is one that we all overlook, isn't it? You know, we run out of time, you're leaving in a hurry, you just don't get these things done, and it slips and slips and slips. Particularly if you haven't used your van for a little while. This is really key. You know, you want to be able to check your tyres. As the most critical thing, I would say, is your contact with the road. So checking your tyres, check all around them, make sure there's no cracks in them, no defects, no anything wrong with them whatsoever. You want to make sure they've got all good tread and the correct pressure. So that's critical. The pressure can make such a difference to your journey, your comfort, your braking distance, acceleration and miles per the gallon. You know, that's critical that you set the pressures correctly for what tyre and wheel combination you've got, and those pressures will be very specific to that. So like I said, do check and make sure those pressures are right. Checking your oil, and if you've got an engine that uses a little bit of oil, why not take a spare litre with you? Some of the older VWs, I mean particularly our old silver van, 2.5 litre AXD engine uses a very specific oil that if we try and go to Halfords, the chances are they're not going to carry it. You know, they won't have that oil in stock. The guys there will tell you that they've got something, but it probably won't work very well. So not great, you know. So if you know you're going to burn a little bit of oil, let's say, you know, you're using half a litre for every couple of thousand miles that you do. If you're going to go and do a 1,500 mile trip, you know, go and put a litre top up in your van, and then that way if you do have to top up, then you can do, you've got it, it's the same oil as what you've got in the engine already, so it keeps everything all nice. And take a bag so that if you do have to open that and unseal that little 1 litre top up, you can then bag it up again and put it out of the way, and you know that's going to be safe. So check your oil, check your tyres. Now your water, so coolant level, obviously that's a given. You know, make sure your coolant is within the specified amount, and top that up if necessary. And your screen wash, so it's another one that always gets overlooked, whether it's winter or summer. You should always have plenty of screen wash in your van. So summertime, you'll want to be able to clear the dust and grime and the flies and everything else off your screen. You want plenty of screen wash to be able to do that. And winter time, obviously you want to be able to clear like the muck and the rain and the spray from the trucks and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, you definitely want to be making sure that your screen wash is topped up as well. Journey planning is one that we all suffer from, isn't it? You know, have you planned your journey right? Are you reliant solely upon sat-nav? Little secret, I got properly caught out in Cornwall. We were going down there and we were arriving late, so we set off late. We knew that we were gonna, so it wasn't us just leaving late. We just knew that we couldn't, with the rest of our schedule, get down within normal sort of daylight hours. So we were going to be arriving down in Cornwall at around about 10:30, so no decent light to be able to see what you're doing, and reliant solely upon sat-nav, big mistake. So I'm a big fan of Waze. I really like it. I like the way that it works most of the time. I'll use Waze, I'll use Google Maps, and sometimes the Apple Maps on the phone. And predominantly I flick between Google Maps and Waze. So Waze is good because obviously community updated, isn't it? So it gets to show you like the latest of what's going on the road. So whether there's any hold-ups or accidents, any dangers that you need to be aware of, and perhaps any sort of hidden cameras and that sort of thing as well. So really handy, I like it. But what Waze really does like is a shortcut. And in the last mile of getting to our destination in Cornwall, it decided that we really were not in a van, we were on a bicycle. So it tried to take us down the most ridiculous roads, hedge-lined both sides, setting the sensors off on the front and rear of the van, where we were literally trying to drive through the bushes. And of course, you're getting more and more agitated, the lane's getting tinier, and a little bit of preparation and planning would have seen me look at that and go, that looks like a lane that's not really suitable for what we want to do, and we would have never have gone down it. But again, you're leaving things to the last minute. It's very easy to get caught up, and it's also really easy to rely on the sat nav because you think it's your friend and it's going to help you out. Sometimes it really won't. It's just an algorithm that's trying to work out the fastest, most efficient route of getting you to where you need to be, from where you were to now where you're going. So it's sometimes not very helpful at all, and every now and again it'll throw up a shortcut that you really did not want to do. So we were only a mile away from our destination, going down to meet some family who I haven't been down to see where they have now moved to, so they're a new address, so I wasn't familiar with where we were going. And literally Waze said we had a mile left to go, turned us off the main road and took us through the most ridiculous shortcut that not even the locals go down. So yeah, that was a mistake. So I'm a big fan of these things. They are brilliant, you know, a paper map, because it puts it in your mind to where you're going. You can physically see where you are, where you need to be, and if you can obviously commit that to a little bit of memory, so you can go, okay, yeah, there's, and that makes it a lot more sensible. Obviously, going back a few years before SatNav really took over, I used to have a box of these bad boys, you know, literally crates and crates. For my old job that I used to do, you'd have a map for every county, and it was brilliant. So you'd look at it, you'd be able to see exactly where you were going, and you could scribble on it as well. So those days are long gone, because we're all computerized, we've got everything on the phone, all your maps are on there, and like I say, Google and Waze do normally run sort of quite up to date, but I still can't get myself away from a good paper map. I love it. So if you're doing a really big journey, it's nice to be able to see. So we've got a multi-scale Europe map, which I'll show you here, which is this one. So that's last year's map, so still really relevant for this year, and we'll be using it when we go abroad again. And it's a great map because it'll zoom into like the cities, so you can see it in a bit more detail, and it'll also allow you to navigate you know, from country to country without turning too many pages. So it'll do really big journeys in hopefully no more than like 5 or 6 pages on there, routing through. And it's really nice because you'll be able to see things on there that you can't see on your electronic maps. So you'll be able to scan through and go, that looks nice, that might be a nice foresty section there, might be somewhere to stop, you know, and all of these other little things. And they're normally marked with campsites and picnic areas. The best one that we've ever found is the German one, because no one does anything better than the Germans, do they? So they build massively great vans, and now they do a amazing map as well. This is the camping and rest places, so stopovers, so stop places, and Stellplatz. Apologies if I mispronounced that really badly. So, but an amazing map. So it's got all the campsites in detail, and their contact numbers, by a company called ADAC, which is like their equivalent of like the AA and the RAC. And this, when you're out, and they do this for lots and lots of countries. Normally they've all got their own. France uses Michelin a lot to do their bigger maps and more detailed stuff. Germany uses ADAC, and then there are some others as you're going around. Italy has got their version as well, and of course when you get up into more northern Europe, they've got a very similar sort of thing. But this one is brilliant. Huge, great big book, loads and loads of detail in there. So
planning is essential, although we all forget to do it. And I'm a great fan of winging it as well. So, you know, sometimes we'll just drive out and see where we're going, and then we'll look in the map and go, that might be nice. And then Google it and have a look at it on the electronic map, and then have a look on the satellite and sort of see what you've got and what's around you, and then you can do from that. But I love a paper map, and they generally don't tend to bite you in the backside as much as what the electronic ones do. So do consider getting a good paper map of the UK. Excellent idea. And even if you don't go for one of these really high detailed ones, if you're going to go to Europe, get yourself one of these, you know, wherever you can get it from, WH Smith's, any sort of like bookseller, they normally got them, Waterstones, all of those fellas. Then yeah, they're brilliant. And like I said, you can do some really good route planning without having to turn too many pages, and it's just really handy, and it'll show you much more on there at a glance than what trying to scroll through your phone is going to do. So really, really brilliant. Paper maps, love them. So we touched on miles per gallon earlier, and how you can increase your miles per gallon by just checking your tyres and making sure everything's running efficiently and all your levels are up and good. So another thing that obviously makes a massive difference to your miles per gallon is your speed. Now, we all know that we're here for a relaxing time, and you want to be relaxing in your camper van, not driving it like a GTI maybe. Now, of course, everything has a time and a place. But generally I try and sort of start my journey a bit more relaxed than what I would do as if we're in the car and we're just trying to get to where we want to be. You know, it is a lot about the journey in a camper van more than necessarily the destination. So start your camping holiday when you leave in your van, not when you get to where you're going. So enjoy the experience of the journey, and by just slowing down a touch, you'll be amazed the difference that makes on your fuel consumption. This little van, it makes a load of difference whether we're doing 60 mile an hour or 70 mile an hour we're permitted. You know, that extra 10 mile an hour really knocks the miles per gallon right down. Sounds obvious, but sometimes we all forget that when we get caught up in it. You're on the motorway, everyone's doing 70 mile an hour, you want to do 70, but it does make a really good difference, even if you knock it back just a couple of mile an hour. Relax, enjoy your journey a little bit more, don't get all stressed out. You know, it's very easy to do, we've all done it, you get caught up in it, don't you? And you're like, then just, yeah, all of a sudden you're not enjoying it, and you arrive at the campsite and you're wired. So knock it back just a touch, and you'll be amazed at the difference that makes, not only to your wallet, but your state of mind when you get there as well. And everybody wants to have a good time, so you want to arrive chilled out, relaxed, happy, ready to unpack and enjoy the rest of your holiday. So let your holiday start when you jump in the van and you make that journey. Enjoy it, slow it down a touch, you'll be impressed with what difference you'll make. So over the last few days of being down in Cornwall, we've done a couple of different campsites, and they've all been different. Absolutely lovely, but different reasons, different views. We had one grass pitch, one hard standing, one gravel. There's been a lot of rain, hasn't there? I don't think any of us have not noticed that over the last year or so. We've had a lot of rain everywhere, so even the driest parts of the country are soggy. So yeah, we've seen a lot of the campsites have, you know, got their grass pitches sort of churned up a little bit more. One of the campsites that we went to actually closed his grass pitches. Luckily they were very quiet, so we ended up on a nice bit of hard standing, and that worked out nicely for us. You know, that wasn't a bother. But you do feel for these guys and girls running the campsites. You know, the amount of rain that we've had has turned them into bogs, so be careful when you're maneuvering around on the campsites. You know, it's very easy to churn the grass up, particularly if you've got a trailer, or you're towing when you're on the grass as well. It can add a little bit of extra weight to the back of the van, which is then going to reduce your traction on the front. So yeah, so be careful of that, nice and steady, and you'll do less damage to that grass. But be prepared to get some soggier campsites if you're out early in the season. Hopefully we're all going to experience some nice sunshine and these sites will all dry out lovely, and we'll all be back to normal, and all the fields will be open, all the campsites will be running to their, you know, full capacity, and we'll be able to park wherever, and it'll all be lovely. But in the meantime, yeah, just take it steady on some of the grass sites because they are a little bit waterlogged, and you've got to feel for these guys when they then got to do a lot of maintenance after we've gone and churned up all our, you know, lovely pitches, and yeah, we've turned them all into a bulk. So bear that in mind, steady as she goes, and you should be okay. If not, hopefully they've got some people to help you push, because some of them are very wet. So we touched earlier on some of the essentials that I like to bring out with me, and I'm a proper fussy sleeper, so the van has to be nice and level, otherwise I'll get all fidgety, and I don't like it. I like a level van. So one of the little tricks that we've got for getting the van level is, I'll show you this little device. You can get them from most camping and caravanning shops. It is a spirit level, and what we normally do is chuck it down on the floor, and then I know how I then need to raise or tilt the van, and it's as simple as that. So with a decent set of chocks that we showed you earlier on in the video, and this little level device sitting down on the floor, because obviously the floor's level, so you know that's going to be right, you can then get a nice level van. Also, that helps as well when you're eating, that if you do put, you know, an apple on the table or a tangerine or something, it's not going to make its way down the table, is it? So, and that goes for, you know, for everything. It's just a nicer experience if you can have a level van for sleeping and for, you know, eating, and just generally better all round. So one of these little devices are excellent. I think we've got these stashed away everywhere. We've got quite a few of these. Like I said, I am a bit of a fussy sleeper, so do like these. Got quite a few of them, but they're good. Get yourself one of those. Brilliant. What are my other essentials? Well, like I said, is the usual stuff. Spare tent pegs is one that you'll always go through. Make sure you got your mallet, you know, good rubber mallet, or a wooden little mallet is handy, because if the grass does finally dry out, you will probably need one of those. Spare tent pegs, because you always bend them, especially if you've got like the little hook ones. They don't last 2 seconds. I like the rock peg style ones, the chunky thick ones. They're pretty good. They'll hold most gazebos and awnings down, you know, nice and secure. So we normally got lots and lots of them with us. If you're at a camping and caravanning site, or you're at a bigger site, you will probably find they've got a little shop. Most of those little shops do have like hammers and pegs and a few of the essentials, so if you do forget them, they've probably got some there. But yeah, so my little levelly thing and my chocks are probably number one. Hookup lead is second, but we've got so much solar and with lithium battery and this, that and the other, I generally tend to use hookup less and less now. Milk, all your essentials, but again, you'll probably get them from the shop. So as long as you remember your bedding and your pillows and your chocks, I think the rest of it you can wing, can't you, really? It's pretty easy. If you haven't got it, you can probably find somewhere locally to go and buy it. So yeah, chocks, bedding, level, sorted. Another really handy thing for when you are away and you're leaving your van, sometimes obviously you'll go out, you're day tripping, you'll be out for a good while. It's nice to have a bit of security on the van, isn't it? So things like wheel locks, so steering wheel locks, and like the pedal locks, so the likes that Transporter HQ do, the Scally Stopper, they're really good, like those. And Stop Lock do like the Stop Lock Pro, which is good for a van steering wheel, so we use one of those as well. Really nice visible deterrent, you know, so people can clock it, you know, they'll see it straight away through the window, they're like, oh yeah. So it is important, because these things are expensive, you know. You don't want to be coming back to find that you don't have it anymore, because that's a lot of fuss and a lot of heartache. So yeah, protect your investment. You don't know the local area, as lovely as what it might be, you know, and beautiful beaches and all that kind of stuff. You know, vehicle crime happens everywhere. Don't leave anything on display. Don't leave any bags sitting on the front seats. You know, temptation. Put temptation out of our way. Put some visible deterrents in place, and you'll be less likely to have a problem. So security is a really important one for anywhere. You know, if you're leaving your van at any time, you know, these things are desirable. You've built a really lovely van, and unfortunately there are people that will want to come and take it away from you. So give them a hard time. You know, put loads of stuff on it that just makes it awkward, and keep everything like these, you know, out of sight. Don't leave them anywhere where, even if it's for 5 minutes, do not give them an opportunity to break your window. So yeah, everything out of sight, some good security on your van that's visible as well. So when you are on your pitch and you're doing your camping, it's important to remember when you are generating waste, what you're going to do with it. A lot of the campsites now are really good for waste management, so they want you to recycle your bottles, your cards, your bits and bobs like that. So go and use those. They've got lots on site. Some campsites will give you a bin bag as well for just general waste, so obviously use that and keep the places tidy. And disposing of your water as well. Obviously, if you're creating your grey waste, obviously dispose of that in a container and then appropriately at the campsite. And any sort of chemical toilet waste as well needs to be disposed of correctly in the right place at the campsite as well. So yeah, a lot of them will obviously have dedicated areas for that, and then obviously topping up with fresh water and just cleaning out your loos and bits and bobs, and topping them back up, and then you can put your treatments back in there as well. But do dispose of those correctly. It would be pretty nasty if they ended up in the wrong place. And obviously with all your general waste that we all, you know, generate as we go through our camping holidays, you know, just try and do the right thing and put that where it can be recycled. But like I said, a lot of the bigger parks now, and most of the sites that we've been to throughout the week that we've been away, have all got really good at recycling. I think you have to now, because otherwise your waste bin is so small that you can't get it all taken away. So everybody's recycling, and so you should. You know, it is the right thing to do. And obviously manage your waste while you're away, and keep everything lovely and tidy, and keep where you're going lovely and tidy as well. And when you're on holiday, you know, no one wants to arrive to a dump, so yeah, let's not turn it into one when we're away. So ventilating your van, it's a question that we get asked quite a lot. So these things can generate quite a lot of condensation. So if there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of you in the van, it's quite a small space, you're all quite warm, outside is cold. So obviously you get plenty of condensation on your windows and sometimes your pop top as well. So it's important to keep your van ventilated. So overnight we normally crack the vents open on the zips on the pop top, open the windows a touch, and we've got the wind deflectors on our front windows, so it's always nice just to drop the window down a touch and just let a bit of fresh air in through them as well. So it's important for you to maintain that airflow. That'll stop you from getting like excessive condensation. I don't think you'll stop it completely. You know, we've all got to breathe in the van, so you're always going to create that warm air inside, that moisture, you know. And if the temperature does drop overnight, then obviously that's where you're going to get that temperature change between the inside of the van, the outside of the van, and that's what makes the condensation. So it's just keeping that airflow, reducing that down as much as you can, you know, or that temperature difference as much as you can, so therefore it creates less moisture. So yeah, key to that, keeping your windows open just a touch will make loads of difference. And then when you do get up in the morning, air everything out before you go away, and you shut the van all up completely. So open those windows, get your vents open on the pop top. Yeah, that will make lots of difference. Some really sound advice if you've got a pop top, and this goes really with all your other vehicle checks before you go away. So prep again is essential. Once a year you should always be waterproofing your canvas. So you can do it more than that if you wish, you know, particularly if you've had some heavy downpours and you've been using your pop top. But you should always waterproof your canvas. You can get some, you know, like manual pump sprays or some aerosol style sprays, and particularly around the zips and the joins and any stitching areas on your pop top, you really want to be waterproofing them. A lot of the camping shops will sell them, you know, like tent style waterproofers, so they're really good. And like I said, at a minimum you really want to be doing that once a year. We've just done ours before we came away, makes loads and loads of difference. So even though the pop top isn't that old, you know, you really do need to be using it. This has been used in all seasons, so you know, it has seen some really horrific downpours when it's been used, so a lot of that moisture resistance or that water repellent would have worn away. So it's really essential that you do waterproof them, and before you go away and find you've got a problem. So do this as part of your pre-holiday essential like prepping. So yeah, waterproof your canvas. That will save you a lot of heartache, particularly if you put something up against it. Yeah, then you're going to find it's going to want to draw the moisture through. And that's another really good point actually. Anything that's touching the canvas from the inside, if you are in a heavy downpour, you know, that's the point where you could end up with the moisture transfer into the inside of the van. So try and keep the area around the canvas, you know, nice and clear, and allow a decent gap of airflow so nothing is touching it. It's that transfer when you've got something touching up against it on the inside that could potentially make a problem. So if there is a lot of rain and you've got bedding or something pushed right up against the canvas, that's at the point where it could then try and transfer through. But if you've got a nice air sort of gap around it, you should be okay, as long as you've waterproofed it and you've got no tears or rips and things in it as well. So obviously do check your canvas before you go. Elevate that roof, pop it up, you know, get out on your ladder, give it a good waterproofing, check all your zips and seams that they're all good and you haven't caught anything in the, you know, the hinge mechanism at the back there. So yeah, do check your pop tops and then they will last. But yeah, highly recommend you do those. Another little essential, again, in your pre-holiday checks, heaters. If you've got a diesel heater in your van, now you should have been running it throughout the year. If you haven't, you really do need to get that up to temperature before you go away. I recommended is that, you know, you run it for at least half an hour. Really, if you haven't used it for a good while, I'd run it for an hour. You know, really get it and run it on full. Don't run it on low. Get it really hot. Nice hours burn. Hopefully it'll clean off anything that's on the inside of that burner. You know, any sooty deposits will now get lovely and hot and get, you know, expelled through the heater. So it's going to give itself a little bit of a clean. But ideally you want to be running them throughout the year. So even summertime, when it's really tempting not to bother, you know, you should be running them for, you know, a good half an hour every month, every 2 months, I'd say, at a minimum. So every 2 months, run at least a half an hour, run flat out, absolute maximum temperature, crank it up, get it going. If it's summertime, just open all the windows, get out, go do something else, but do run the heater. It's really important that they don't sit, you know, idle for months on end. Then all of a sudden you get back into winter and you think, oh yeah, I'll go out in the van, and the thing's not going to work, or it's not going to want to work very efficiently because it's all sooted up. So don't give yourself that chance of the breakdown. You know, do run it, you know, at least every other month, at least half an hour. If you're going to run it every other month, I'd say run it for an hour. You know, if you're going to run it once a month, half an hour, full power, done. You know, then that's going to give you the best longevity out of that heater. So thanks for joining me on this little, you know, holiday trip essentials. I hope you found it interesting. There's lots and lots of information on different sites out there if you are planning a very specific holiday, and hopefully you're going to push your boundaries this year, perhaps go out into Europe for the first time, go and do some ferries, you know, get on the Channel crossing, get out into France. There's a whole world to go and explore out there. I can't tell you how great Europe is, because it is brilliant. You know, it is just a fantastic place to drive around. They're very camper friendly, and you know, it just go and explore. We've met some wonderful people over the years, you know, just out and just by pure chance, you know, great people that run campsites, great people that run local restaurants and stuff. So get out, eat locally, buy locally, enjoy the local area that you're out, and go and explore, and don't be afraid of moving around. You know, my favorite trips are that we won't stay in one place for more than a couple of nights, and we'll move around either through Europe or through the UK, you know, and it's so good. You know, it's good for the soul, and it's really good for your well-being, and it brings that, you know, bit of nature back to us, of that, you know, hunter-gatherer, explorer type person that you probably are deep down, because you've got a camper van, so you want to do all of this stuff. So go and push the boundaries, go out and enjoy the stuff that you were a little bit scared about doing, but yeah, don't be afraid to go out there and try different places. There are some wonderful sites about, you know, whether it's like your really basic stuff or your proper luxury, fully kitted out hot tubs and all of that sort of jazz. You know, it's like there's something out there for everybody. Just go and enjoy it, and the best thing is, like, just go and enjoy your van, and like I said, enjoy the journey as much as that destination as well. One of my favorite things is just driving and soaking up the scenery. You know, there's miles and miles of beautiful roads that you can still enjoy, that aren't congested. You know, it's been a great trip down to Cornwall for us, and we've seen some things that we hadn't seen before. Although we've been down to Cornwall, but we went to some new places this time, and yeah, it's been really, really good, and we've met some lovely people who were super friendly. One of the, I suppose the negatives of us being so connected on the internet is, like, there's a lot of negativity posted everywhere, and some of that regards, you know, like the camping, the camper vans, the lifestyle, and of course the places. You know, you hear a lot of negative stuff about Cornwall, and I'd heard and read a lot of negative things on the websites for parking charges, people being miserable, no one wanted you down there, and all of that sort of thing. And do you know what? It couldn't have been further from the truth. People were really accommodating. They really wanted us to be down there. We had a really great time. The car parks were nowhere near as bad as what people were saying. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. There are going to be car parks, and you'll probably tell me where they are and which ones are the worst. But for the places that we went and visited, you know, the car parks were reasonable. The parking spaces were good. The access could sometimes be a little bit ropey in a van, but, you know, we made it work. But we were certainly welcomed everywhere. The locals were fantastic. The produce and the stuff that we bought was amazing. You know, so we ended up coming back via Gloucester, and we stopped in a little town just outside of Yeovil on the way back, as well as a bit of a detour, as we did some other bits on the way. Found a beautiful farm shop out there, and that was fantastic. The people were wonderful, the food was great. So do, like I said, enjoy local. So wherever you are, go and support the local community by paying for the parking, by paying for the local produce, by paying, you know, like the people that are helping you have a great time out there. You know, it doesn't need to be a lot. You don't need to spend fortunes. You know, if there's something that is to be enjoyed out there and it's going to cost you a couple of quid and it just benefits everybody, then so be it. I don't think we should be moaning about it. You know, we just need to be out there having a good time, helping others, you know, at the same time, and then everybody can get together and no one is going to be frowned upon or unwelcomed. So, but like I said, on this particular trip, we found everybody was super friendly. The campsites that we visited and enjoyed have been fantastic, and some really great spots. All the things that we've done, all the little touristy attractions that we've enjoyed and been to, you know, they were all good, and the people were just super friendly. I can't get over it. It's like, I really thought it was going to be a little bit negative, a little bit like, oh, we're going to get stung on the car parking, we're going to get, you know, people see us like, oh, you've got a camper van, oh, they don't like you, you know, and all of this sort of stuff. It couldn't have been further from the truth. So be careful of what you read out there and how you interpret it, because yes, there always will be some negatives. Yes, people will always have bad experiences, but this particular experience, I can only speak as we found, and that was really good. People wanted us there. We spent a little bit of money, you know, we enjoyed their local cuisines and foods and cultures and stuff that they wanted to show us, you know, as tourists, as visitors, you know, and it didn't harm anybody, and like I said, we were welcomed, and that felt really nice, you know. Everyone was so friendly, even when we were out for walks, you know, saying hello. It's just the simple things can sometimes make the greatest of differences. So go with an open mind, be friendly yourself, and I'm sure if you treat people how you want to be treated, then, you know, you'll also have a great time and a great experience. And take that everywhere, you know, and it's not limited to our little island, you know, it's everywhere. So yeah, go out there, enjoy it. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, please do give us a thumbs up, and please do subscribe so you can see more of what we're up to. We're trying to bring you some more videos in this sort of style, as well as our conversion stuff and what we're up to in general, and also all the new products that we like to try. So yes, thanks guys, I really appreciate you sticking around, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.